Good morning, Council Room. That's right. Remember, nothing has happened before this moment. Yes, my name's Tierran Cisco. I am a local science fiction author, but more importantly, a while ago I wrote this book called Black Paper Box. If I sound like I'm talking fast for folks at home, you just need to adjust your monitors. Yes, the first part of this book, though, my introduction to hooliganism, I was a very young kid. My dad was a big nerd. My friend was a big nerd. And he used to trade tapes of Doctor Who with other folks because it was kind of hard to get it here stateside. And I was really bored, and I was going through tapes. Oh my God, I forgot there's young people. So tapes are kind of like a 3D Netflix, but you can only watch one program at a time, and you can't skip ahead. If you fall asleep, it just kind of stops. Unless you have one of those cool VCRs that would like automatically rewind it. Anyway, I put in a tape of this amazing show. It was an episode called Paradise Towers. Yes. And for little young me, that was the greatest thing ever. It was like, here's this crazy, fast-talking guy in a question mark vest, and this like really cute ginger with curly hair, and there's like robots and like Nazis who weren't Nazis and gangs and cannibal old ladies. And I was like, I'm going to school, I'm gonna tell everyone about this cool show, and then I'm gonna be cool. It didn't quite work out that way. But I fell in love with that program and have not looked back since. I never thought I would ever get to meet my first doctor because, you know, I'm over here, he's in some far off place that was called like Scotland or something. It was crazy. But dreams do come true, which is very cheesy, but even though it's cheesy doesn't mean it's not true. And they say don't meet your heroes, but that's all bull pucky because some heroes not only are amazing, they go beyond that. Scale of 1 to 10, comfortably in the 98 billions. Council Room, please welcome Sylvester McCoy.
Wow, that was some journey. Wow. Oh, hello. Where am I? This isn't England, is it? Oh dear, the TARDIS has done it again. It gets me to the wrong place. Bye. I must get to England.
Oh, no. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, the TARDIS, it doesn't allow me to go where I want to go. It just wants me to go where it wants to go. And it wants me to come here to, where are we? Minneapolis. Why is it called Minneapolis? Is it a little Apollos or a big Apollos? Is there a big Apollos or a Minneapolis?
That's actually the origin. Minneapolis does mean like little
Apollos.
Annapolis.
Annapolis is a city, isn't it? I think.
That sounds right.
Yeah, an ancient city. Mini what? City of water. Soup. Dakota? Oh, city of water. All right. So Mini is the water bit, and Apollos is the city, isn't it? Apollos is the city, I believe. Hello, you're late. Have you got a note? Sit. Don't be embarrassed. We're all watching you. Hello.
Hello. This is amazing. Like I was telling the audience before, you were my first doctor.
Oh, wow.
And as I mentioned earlier, also
Can I pour you some water? You've got
mine
something.
Mine came in a box.
You came with your own.
It's posh mini as well.
Cheers.
But I mean, you were really you're the last doctor that mattered. I know that they say all doctors. They say all who is good who, all doctors are great, but I mean, who are we kidding? It's like after 7, it's 7. That's the number of like...
Heaven, I'm in 7, yes.
But does that legacy, does that ever like hit you? Are there ever moments now where you think back like, wow, what I did almost 3-4 decades ago is still resonating? And
it is extraordinary, really, because when I got the job, I didn't realize it was going to last this long. Because I'm still doing Doctor Who and Big Finish, and also I popped up in Jodie's last story, and then there was the Tales from the TARDIS has suddenly happened, and still things are happening, and it's glorious. It's a glorious job, really. Never thought it would last this long, though.
And I know you've been interviewed before, and for the poor audience here, they have to suffer through it.
Are they poor? Oh.
Well,
should we
yes.
should we go around and raise some money for them?
Absolutely. I think they'd be fine with that.
You know, they have to look after the poor.
But I want to try and ask you questions that you haven't been asked before.
All right.
I want to give you a little bit more unique, which I know is hard for someone with your career and your status. But so if you were forced to recommend only one novel, any genre, any writer, what book or books? I guess they said one. So what book would you recommend?
Oh, yeah. Well, I think Mark Twain would be my... He was the first book that I remember having... well, I read other books, but this one, Tom Sawyer and those books had a profound effect on me. And I think that they kind of guided me, put me on the route of my philosophy of life, my humor, and everywhere. So Mark Twain's writing, I would say, had a big, big effect on me.
Nice. And what is the meaning of life?
The meaning of life is death. Sadly, that's the only thing we can be guaranteed will happen when we're born. But the meaning of life is, hopefully, I think it should be, well, my extreme, not exploring, discovering, enjoying, sharing, loving, and then goodbye.
Well, to that last point, or sharing specifically, the best part about being a Whovian is sharing the love of Who with other Whovians. So I only have one more question, and then we'll open it up for the audience, if that's all right with you?
Yeah, you know.
Yes. I'm not going to sing here. Hey, no heckling.
We don't have directors on this show.
That's true. But my one question is sort of like missed opportunities. So at this stage in your career, are there any actors or directors, filmmakers, creators of any sort that you look back and say, you know what, I wish I would have done more with? And then conversely, are there any actors that you have worked with where you're thinking, you know what, that was the wrong project, perhaps there's something better that could have been done? So sort of aspirations versus reservations.
Well, I suppose dead actors, dead directors. I'd love to work with Buster Keaton. Yeah, I played Buster Keaton as well, and I did a play of Buster Keaton, and I'd love to have worked with him because not only was he a great clown and a great kind of visual actor, he was also a brilliant director. And if he had never been on the screen, he would have been one of the great directors of his era. And in France, they hold him in great and high respect for his directing as well as his acting, clowning, and brilliance. Yeah. So who would I not like to work with? Well, I would tell you who I did work with that I wouldn't like to work with again, and that is an actor, you might not have heard of him, he's called Laurence Olivier. I did a film, Dracula, with him. And I must say that he was older and he was kind of ill, but he behaved really badly to me. Donald Pleasance, remember Donald Pleasance? Donald was in it, and his name Pleasance fitted him brilliantly. He was incredibly nice, and we got on really well. We were about 17 weeks in the West, Cornwall, way down in the Wild West in the winter, in a hotel, filming Dracula. And Olivia just took against me when I arrived. It was really interesting. What happened was that I had two little children with me, my wife, and I put them to bed, and then I came down to the pub. This was the bar the first night. And everyone was sitting around and all chatting and having a drink, and I went to the bar, and then I turned around and said, anyone want a drink? And no one answered, and I was kind of a bit, kind of nervous as well, because there was Donald Pleasance, there was Laurence Olivier, there was Frank Langella, there was all these great names there, and then I said, hello, I'm a Scotsman, does anyone want a drink? I might not ask the third time, trying to make a gag, and Olivier turned around and said, oh, Sylvester, sit down and stop showing off. Sorry, Olivier. Or it should be, sorry, Olivier. And so that was the beginning of our friendship, and it never got better. And I'll tell you what happened. What happened was that we were doing this scene, and he was playing Van Helsing with a German accent. He couldn't even do a Dutch accent. There was someone there to speak it, because Dutch is different. In Dutch they speak so like, in German it is like that, So there's a difference. But he did, he did it in a German accent. And so this greatest of actors. And so there's a scene where what's her name? Kate Nelligan, she was sucked by Dracula. She was in bed. Dracula had jumped out the window, and there was a door here, and there was a camera there. You're the camera, and it's a connecting bit. I'm a lunatic, resident lunatic in the establishment, working for Dr. Sewell, and Van Helsing, Olivier, and I walk down. I've got the garlic, and he's got the steak. And we walk down, and it's a connecting shot. That's just to get from one scene to the other. That's all its job was. It needed that to get from one scene. So we walk down together. He's there, I'm here, and we go in and rehearse. Okay, that's great. Okay, lights, action, sound, and then we go, so action. So we come down, and we come to here. He goes like this to me. I go like this. I hit the wall, and he walks in all by himself. Bastard. And I was, and the thing is, it was not important. So the director went, "Oh yes, okay, that'll do," because he's under pressure. Get on to the next. It'll still work. So in the next scene, if you ever watch it, in the next scene, I'm out of focus at the back on a window with garlic, putting garlic around the window, and I'm so angry, and I'm looking around like this. I'm furious. And a friend of mine who was a great Olivier fan came out of the film once, and he said, "You know something? You were out of focus and you upstaged Laurence Olivier." So there we go. That was your answer to your question, I think?
Yes, that was fantastic.
Right, okay. So now, the thing is that what I'm going to do is come down these stairs, and it's now time for you to ask questions. So if you want to ask me a question, put your hands up, and if I fancy, I might come and, find out what you want to ask. All right, there's someone up here. I'm coming through. Mind the way. You thought you came here to be comfortable. I got news for you. Hang on. Don't speak while...
I love stories. So I was wondering, is there like a moment on set that you just absolutely enjoyed, like an event or something that happened on set?
Well, enjoyed in a certain way, because I actually, for one moment, became a real superhero. We were filming Battlefield, and in the studio they had Sophie in a big glass tank, and they were pouring water into it, and so the water was actually, it looked as if it was coming up, but it was coming down from above. And so there was a wooden platform up there, and two men up there putting the water in, and Sophie was against the glass going, and I was on the other side, don't panic. And it took so long for the thing to fill up, I had to ad-lib. And so I remember there was bits of stuff. So I ad-lib falling over things, just so they had something to carry on with, which was terrible ad-libbing. But anyway, I did that. And then I realized the glass in the box, the glass box tank, was started to bow, and I thought, that's not right, that's glass, it shouldn't be doing that. And so I realized what was going to happen. So in my mind, everything went really fast. And so I bellowed, I thought, I must get her out of there, and run! And of course, the guys grabbed her, and so Sophie was doing all this. She didn't really quite know what was happening, and they grabbed her and pulled her out. And the glass broke, shattered, and tons of water came flying out into the studio. And then I ran for a wooden stair and ran up the stairs, shut off the electricity! And I actually did save Sophie's life, or, saved her being cut to pieces, because it would have been terrible with the water and all that. So I suppose that's a story. Right, someone there.
You've worked both in the theater and in TV, movies.
Radio.
Yes, radio. What would you give advice for people who are trying to move from one kind of acting to another? What for somebody who's new to it?
Oh, well, I mean, the thing is that, what can you say? Hopefully someone will offer you a job in the other medium, really. I didn't even notice that I just moved from one to the other. It just happened. I mean, in our country, theatre is incredibly important. In fact, someone like Olivier thought himself greater than his wife, who got 2 Oscars, because she did film and he did theatre. And in a way, that's that kind of snobism or pride about theatre in our country is still there. So you start in theatre, and then maybe someone will come along and see you and then offer you a job on television. That's what happened to me. And then you do that. And then sometime, at one time, because with Doctor Who, it's very obvious that they did 2 films of Doctor Who, cinema films, and they didn't have the actor who played the part in the films. In those days, you never moved from television to film. It was very, kind of compartmentalized. My teeth are coming out. Anyway, do you know what I mean? So it was difficult. But nowadays, it's much easier. You flow between them. So I can't really give you advice how to do it. It just happens. Get in. Do stuff, make your name, show, and then people hopefully will come along. It's all luck in our business more than anything else. It's all luck. It's very difficult sometimes to actually dictate what happens as an actor. You're just kind of bits of flotsam and jetsam being thrown around by, whatever happens, waves and things. I hope that answered your question. Hello, do you want to leave the room?
Yes, I'd like to move to the virtual world.
Oh, is that virtual room? It's a little robot up there. Look at that. Hello, virtual room.
We have a question from online, Liz. What do you think the future could hold for the Doctor and Ace?
More. Hello.
Hello.
You're late.
I'm very sorry. I apologize deeply.
You have deep.
You and all the other guests.
Okay. Yes. All right. Thank you. Don't do it again. So the future, I don't know what the future. I mean, how do I know? I'm not a time traveler. I'm a poor actor. Well, not that poor actually. But anyway. And so, Doctor Who number 4, upstaging all the time. Sit. Yes, that's what the future will be. More, I hope. I mean, I'm quite excited because Russell T Davies has taken over and he's revived it in some sort of way. And now that Disney are involved, there's more money involved, which is a good thing, but I hope that they keep Disney at bay, just take its money. And I believe, and Russell is so strong, I'm sure he will defend Doctor Who and keep it British. But so, I mean, I think the deal is that Disney gets to show it all over the world. It's shown in Britain by the BBC, but then they give the BBC the money and, Bad Wolf the money, and Russell makes it. So hopefully, with shooting, doing it looks really exciting. And so I think so if you'd have asked me that way back when I was doing it, I wouldn't have thought it would last another 30 odd years, because I was there for the 30th anniversary, so it's now 60. You'd think, but maybe 120 years later, 60 years, it'll still be going, hopefully. Someone might invent a pill that keeps you going. If you're young enough, you get that pill and then find out if it's still there in 60 years' time. Bye. Right, anyone else? Wow, my hands down here. All right. I'll go for the most awkward one because it's more fun. Move. Hello, Ace!
Hi. So you said you admitted you're not a time traveler for real. I understand. But if you could get in the TARDIS and go anywhere, anytime, right now, where would you go?
What? Rihanna's house? Rihanna's house? No, she'd pick me up and throw me. But so I don't know if people know that Rihanna wrote this thing that her favorite doctor was me. I mean, which is really nice. But she said, I like it. She said, and if he was here, I'd pick him up and throw him. So I don't think I go to Rihanna's house. But where would I go? In history, I suppose it'd be quite nice to go back to the Renaissance, Italy, you know, with all those painters and it was also quite Caravaggio, you know, it was dangerous, you know, you had to, a sonic screwdriver would be quite handy there. You could actually paint a painting or defend yourself against a sword, and there we go.
A question for you. Maybe it's mine. It could be mine.
Okay, you win.
An actual serious question. I have noticed in the last several seasons that there's a lot more queer and female representation in Doctor Who. Do you have an opinion on that?
Yes, I think it's really good because there are a lot more queer and bisexual people around. I mean, they've been around all the time, but, you know, now, thank goodness we're allowed this freedom for your freedoms, and we're, you know, kind of, it just gets, sometimes it does get a bit confusing. Because I did Sense8, I don't know if anyone knows that, I've seen it. Well, and when I went to the interview, yes, what happened was, I phoned up my son who knows about these things, and I said, someone was Wachowski. Oh no, I did the interview first, that's right. So I went to the interview, and I met this very tall lady who was great, and we got on like a house on fire, and we chatted for 45 minutes. And normally, as an actor, you might go along, have to read a bit, or, you know, stuff in front of a camera. By the end of it, I didn't have to, and I knew I'd got the part. And then I went back and then told my son, I said, this Wachowski lady. He went, my God, the Wachowskis, they did The Matrix. Oh my God, these two guys did The Matrix. And I said, it wasn't a guy, it was a woman. And he said, oh yes, but they've changed their sex. And I thought, I didn't even know, I didn't notice it was a woman. And I didn't know you were a woman until you stood up, or whatever you are now. What is it? What do you call it? What's the, not nouns, pronouns. Is it pronouns? Pronouns, yes. I get very confused with the pronouns because I'm dyslexic.
Don't feel bad, we get confused too.
All right, okay, oh good.
I just have a question. Nobody likes to think about death, but it does happen. But let's say you're guided to the next world, and they ask you what was your favorite thing coming here to Earth. You can answer as a doctor or yourself or both.
All right, my favorite thing coming here to Earth would be become the father to two sons, really. That was, to me, magic. I remember the first time when my first son arrived in the world, I was hoping for a girl. You know, I wanted a girl. Suddenly this boy popped out, and I suddenly changed from this guy, this Christian, into this wonderful Jewish dad. I was like, oh my God, I got a son. My God, I got a son. I was going around, I got a son. I got cigars. I was going to have a cigar. I got a son. And it was like really weird. I felt totally in love with him. But I did want a girl. But I got this son, and I loved him dearly. And then the second boy came along, and I loved him. But luckily now, my second son has given me a granddaughter. And so I've got the girl in my life that I wanted as well. So that's good, yeah. Bum, 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 bum.
So the spoon playing was a great element to your doctor's time, and did you bring them? And when you were working on The Hobbit, did you ever get Sir Ian to play the spoons with you?
No chance, he hated that bit. Because in King Lear, I got the spoons into King Lear. And Ian hated all that stuff. So I did try to get the spoons into The Hobbit. I don't know if anyone's seen the documentaries. Now I have about 10 years of documentary following the CDs or whatever it is, I believe. And in it, I tried to talk or sneak the spoons into The Hobbit. Didn't quite succeed. I nearly succeeded because one day I got a musical case. It's like a little violin case, tiny, and I put spoons in it, so it's a spoons case. And I walked around with that in the studio, and Peter Jackson saw it and thought, oh, what's in there? And so I I'd put in wooden spoons because I thought that would be in keeping with Radagast and the Hobbit. And so I brought them out and I played them a little bit. And he went, "Oh, we've got to have that in the Hobbit." And I thought, great. But then it never happened. And I didn't really want to nag it, so it didn't get into the Hobbit. But it did get into King Lear with Ian. Yeah. There was a couple of things that in King Lear that Ian didn't like. In the story, Shakespeare wrote this bit about the fool getting an egg and then kind of taking the egg and then, sorry, what were you talking about? It must be really interesting.
His back hurts.
Your back hurt? Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to stand up or? No. Or do you want to lie down? No. Oh, do you want me to walk over it? Because it might click back in.
No, it's all right.
All right. Okay, good. Oh, I see. Oh, well, you can't understand. Okay, I'll tell the story here so you can see me. Right. So, anyway, what was I talking about? Oh, yes, the egg. So the egg is written by Shakespeare in the play, where the fool takes an egg, breaks it in half, and is indicating to King Lear that he was, ridiculous, breaking his kingdom in half, and using the egg to show the stupidity and danger of it all. Now, as luck would have it, Ian McKellen decided that before that scene he was going to sit down, like that. And I thought, oh, great. So I came up with this idea. I got the egg and I slipped it under his bottom as he was sitting down. And so when it came to the egg business, I went, book, 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 and pulled him up. And there, he'd laid an egg. And of course he had laid an egg because he's, split his kingdom in two. And so Trevor Nunn loved the idea, but Ian never liked the idea. Well, he didn't think of it, you see. If he'd have thought of it, then he might have liked the idea. Anyway, we're touring. We toured for a year and a half all around the world. We were in America somewhere, and came to the egg business. I pulled him up, and no egg. Where's the egg? Where's the egg? And Ian went, oh, is this what you're looking for? He was holding it, and then he threw it up into the air, and I discombobulated. I didn't catch it, so it bounced on the floor, and then I got it. And I said, look, Uncle, the floor, 'tis made of rubber. And when we actually exited, he said, I'll not do that again. I thought, no, you won't. Excusez-moi.
What was the last shot that you did for Survival? Was it the closing speech, or was it just some random little bit of business?
No, it was the closing speech, as far as I remember. I mean, I think it was. It's a long time ago. Another thing is, I remember, yes, because they handed me the speech at the last minute, so I had to learn it very quickly, and I walk off. Now, I had no idea that was the end for my doctor. But it was supposed to be, because I agreed to do 3 years. I signed up for 3 years. Because Patrick Troughton, who was my doctor, had told Peter Davidson, who told me that Patrick Troughton had said to Peter, only do 3 years. And I thought, that's it. That's a message from Patrick to me. I'll only do 3 years. So I was in the second year, and then they said to me, no, sorry, I'll come around here so you don't have to hurt your back. There's no screen up there, no. All right, okay, so the second year, they came to me and said, we want you to do a 4th year. And I said, when are you doing? And they said, if you don't do a 4th year, we won't do a 3rd year. So I thought, I better do a 4th year. So I agreed to it. And then I got my head around it and started to really get excited about doing a 4th year. Because I was only doing half a year for my doctors. This one would have been a whole year. Now, the thing is that I didn't know whether, I thought, it'd be interesting to see if I do a whole year, I might go mad. I might go like Tom Baker and think I am the doctor, because he did it for 7 years. He thought he was the real thing. He thought he was the real McCoy. So anyway, so I thought I'll try it. So I was excited about it. And then when it came to it, they didn't do it. I didn't know at that time when we did that piece. It was later on in the year, the phone rang at home, and it was the producer, John Nathan Turner, and he said, hello, Sylvester. He said, I've just phoned you up to tell you I've sent you a letter. I said, thank you. That's nice. And he said, I suppose I better read you what's in it. And I said, yeah, thinking, why did he even write it? But anyway, so he told me what was in it, which was they were going to put the Doctor Who into hiatus. And so, that was it. And I was a bit annoyed. Because they twisted my arm to do a 4th season, and then they didn't do it because of political reasons within. Sorry, BBC. Sorry. wherever you are. Right, I'm coming over here. I'll go here and then I'll come back here. If the microphone still works over here, it's mine. I know you gave it to me, but it's mine.
In the previous question that you answered, you said your doctor was a half a year, and then
Yeah, half a year.
and then you did a whole year. I don't understand.
No. I did. I did 15 episodes a year, I think. It's a long time. So I only did half a year of Doctor Who. Before that, the doctors did 26 episodes, and it took a whole year to do. For me, it was great because as an actor, I was being Doctor Who for half the year, and then I could go off and do other plays. I did a play at the National Theatre which had been written for me, which in a way got me Doctor Who, which was, yes, I'll get there, which was, what was it? You interrupted my train of thought. Be off with you. No, well done, Pied Piper. Yes, the Pied Piper. So I went back to do that at the National. And that was the show that got me Doctor Who, because the producer came along and saw me in it. And it had been written for me, and it was a musical play. No, I'm not.
One of my favorite.
Not yet, anyway.
One of my favorite episodes that you did was the Happiness Patrol, and I just love that. And I just wanted to know what the inspiration behind the Candyman was.
Well, yes, no. I don't know, because I didn't kind of create the character. I just acted with it. But I mean, it's that kind of world where you take something that children love and then try and turn it into something slightly frightening. Because as we know, children, we like to be frightened by things, and teddy bears. I mean, it's the same with Star Wars. I believe that the little funny little things, Ewoks and things like that, and the old Jawas, yeah, and all that kind of stuff. So it's in that kind of world. Although I didn't think I thought it was a good idea. Of sweet melting human beings, because we torture sweets, don't we? So making them and things like that. So I thought it was a good idea, but I didn't think the voice was good. I thought the voice could have been more frightening, I felt, but it wasn't. But it was good to work with. Right. Although the people that made it, I mean, they got really upset. The company, they got really upset.
My friend and I here visited. Absolutely fell in love with it. What is your favorite place town, location in Scotland?
Aye. Oh, my heart's in the Highlands. My heart isn't here. My heart's in the Highlands. A chasing the deer. No fear. Oh, no, actually, where? I mean, I loved Glasgow. I mean, Glasgow is not as beautiful as Edinburgh. I mean, Edinburgh is stunning, and I've been at the Edinburgh Festival for years and years. I've played there, many every year for about 20 or 30 years or so. I love going to Edinburgh. But Glasgow I like because it's more edgy, and it's there's that magical mix of the Scots and the Irish in Glasgow. And it's the same as Liverpool, which is the magical mix of the English and the Irish in Liverpool. And it creates this kind of tension that can so there's great music comes out of there, great art, great comedy, great writing, both in Glasgow and, in Liverpool. So, yeah, I like that. I do, I mean, the Highlands, I suppose, recently I did a film in the Highlands called Lost at Christmas, I believe, yeah. And that was in Glencoe. I wouldn't say that's a beautiful place, but it's very dramatic. And it has a very dramatic history because there was a time out when there was a rebellion in Scotland against the English, and the Scots lost, and there was Bonnie Prince Charlie and all that kind of history. And the King England, who was the German, they made people go so there we are. The English. So it was deemed that all the clans of Scotland had to write a letter and send it to Edinburgh, say that it would be loyal to the new king of Britain, or the UK at the time. And so they did that. There was a clan in Glencoe, the McDonald's. Their revenge came later when they started to sell hamburgers. Anyway, so the McDonald's hadn't they sent out the letter, but because of the weather and all that kind of stuff, it never got there in time. So the Duke of Argyll was told that he had to go and punish them. So he sent out the Campbells, they were called. So the Campbells arrive in this valley, this village, and the McDonald's welcomed them in because they were always very welcoming of most of the tribes. And they came there, they stayed 3 or 4 days, they drank, they talked, they had merry times, they had Kayleys, and they maybe even shared their daughters, who knows. But, it was all a merry time. And then one night, in the middle of the night, the Campbells got up and massacred all the McDonald's, killed them all. And when you go to that glen, it has that deep, terrible, feeling. It really has. It's quite astonishing. You can see a bit of it in a James Bond film where James Bond and she's standing looking out. That's that area. I was filming there. But the inn we were in was great, and the whiskey was great, so that was really good. Right, okay, here we go.
Hello, you mentioned you were talking about that practical effect with Sophie that failed and almost hurt her badly, but you've done so many things. You've walked away from explosions, you've hung off of ice cliffs, you've jumped into ditches. Do you have any other favorite or memorable practical effect shots that you can tell us about?
Well, I mean, I did a lot of my own stunts. I used to set light to my head, blow fire, and have a bomb exploded in my chest, which was, we did that every night, twice on Saturdays. It was where I became Sylvester McCoy, because I'm not the real McCoy. I don't know who switched me off there. Anyway, so because it was called the show was called An Evening with Sylvester McCoy, the Human Bomb, and that's where I started doing lots and lots of stunts and stuff like that. But we were called the Ken Campbell Roadshow. That was the name of the character, and I did all sorts of things, like I was put in a mailbag, chained up, and to escape from a mailbag. I used to mentally sit cross-legged and stare at a piece of cotton wool, and it would burst into flames. I did loads of stunts. Many stunts, had bricks broken on my chest, the lot. Now, the Ken Campbell Roadshow got invited to Israel for the Israeli festival in summer. This is way back in 1972, 70, thereabouts anyway. And so we thought, great, good. We flew us out to this festival in Israel. We arrive, and we do the show in Tel Aviv, in the theater, and the audience are like, they can't believe what they've seen, because they came to see the Glen Campbell Roadshow. They invited the wrong people, and they got us. It blew their minds. I mean, because in those days they didn't have television in Israel, but then they had, they had radio and all that kind of stuff. The theatre was way back in the 50s or the 40s, and what we were doing in Europe was pushing the envelope even there. And, we were so kind of mad and extreme. And so it was like them being time traveled through to another era. The next day, the reviews in the paper were terrible. They hated us. But by the end of the week, they loved us because we toured around. And in fact, they invited Ken Campbell, the director, back as well to Israel. So we kind of won them over, but it was extreme. So I was blowing myself up, and I have this horrible feeling that. And I was. Peter Davison said to me, "Could you ask Peter Jackson if he would do a little thing, for it?" And I said, "Okay, I'll ask him." So I asked him if he would, and he said he would. And then he never got around to doing it while I was there. So he went in and he went to Ian McKellen. But Ian McKellen wasn't. I know he wasn't at the time. So that was it was great. Really good thing to do. Before that, the year before, all over the world, all of us doctors that were traveling around, we knew that the fans wanted us to be in the 50th anniversary. We knew that, and we thought we might be, because we thought the producers might listen to the fans. Well, they didn't, and we weren't. And so at the beginning of the year, we started making our own little film that, we're very proud of. And we actually, it was great fun. But what was also good was that Stephen Moffat, we got him in. Somehow they got involved. The BBC suddenly, halfway through the year, realized we were doing something interesting. And Peter knew Stephen Moffat, because of his son-in-law. You might have heard of him, David Tennant. He's kind of an unknown Scottish actor. Anyway, so he knew Peter and Stephen, so he got Stephen to do a bit in it, and also the BBC put some money in, so the camera crew got paid. No one else got paid, but the camera crew got paid. We all did it for nothing. We all did it for the fans, for the love of the fans, and also one finger up to the BBC. But at that point, Stephen suddenly realized, at one point he said, "Hi, I'm the villain of this piece." And we thought, yeah, you are. You should have got us into 50. All right, no, there's a young lady up here. I'm coming to see you. Don't run away. I'm coming. I'm nearly there. Don't panic.
What question was I going to ask? I forgot.
I don't know. What question were you going to ask?
I don't know. Don't put me on the spot. Someone, you answer. Okay, fine. Out of all the episodes you ever did, which one was your favorite and why? That's what I was going to ask.
Do you want to? Okay, ask it.
Well, she already did.
I know, but I'd like to hear it out of your mouth as well.
Oh, out of all the episodes you did, which one was your favorite?
And?
Why?
Yeah, splendid. Yes, well, it's very difficult, really, because I see it differently, because I was inside it looking out. You're all outside looking in. So I suppose my favorite really would be the Daleks, one of the Daleks, the Remembrance of the Daleks. When I watched Doctor Who way back in the 60s with Patrick Troughton, there was a revolution then in the 60s of peace and love, and there was an outpouring of, kind of great kind of music and art, and it was all about loving and communicating and being with people, and it was also revolutionary. Now, the BBC at that time, it was called Auntie. That was its nickname, Auntie, because it was like a maiden aunt. It was nothing that would make upset, vicars or vicars' wives if they happened to watch it. That kind of TV that was going out. But Doctor Who was subversive, and we, watching it, realized that. And it was being written by young people at the time, science fiction, and you get away with lots of stuff in science fiction because the powers that be don't notice it. They don't realize what's being said. And some of it was a bit like, in those days, there used to be this thing, if you played a Beatles record backwards, there were secret messages in there. I mean, that's how stoned we all were, So there was the same kind of thing about Doctor Who in those days. So cut to me. So when I got it, and when I hadn't seen Doctor Who for years, I had forgotten Doctor Who, I hadn't seen it, because you may not believe this, but there was no means of recording it. There was no means of ever seeing it. It went out on a Saturday, and it was never repeated again and never seen again. And so I lost complete touch when I got the job, so I was ignorant. Luckily, also, the script editor, he was Canadian, and he knew very little about Doctor Who. So we were both ignorant about Doctor Who, and so we interpreted it the way we wanted to. We didn't have to worry about the background, the baggage, or the history of it, in a way, so we started afresh. But I always remembered this Patrick Troughton era, and it was about something, not just about a story about science and fiction and all that. So our stories were about something. The Happiness Patrol was, in a sense, a kind of an anti-capitalist thing about everybody's got to be happy, and it was also an anti-Thatcher thing. You don't know about Thatcher, but she was a witch who once ran Britain. Anyway, so it was that, and then there was, the Happiness Patrol. Then there was the one about the buildings. It was all to do with kind of people in skyscrapers and all that kind of stuff. But the Dalek one was about race. We'd had race riots in our country round about that time, so there was a big debate going on, and a physical debate and a talking debate about race and how it had to be embraced, and that was about it too. And in the story, there's one lovely scene, one of my favourite acting scenes, which I'm in a cafe with Marcel, what's his name? The actor who was the butler in the Prince of Bel-Air. Yeah, what the actors? His name's something Marcel. I'm terrible with names. Anyway, he was serving me a cup of tea, and then there was sugar, lumps of sugar. And the discussion was, if you dropped a lump of sugar into the tea, it was ripples. And now sugar had been the main kind of driving force of slavery, and so it was about that. That whole scene was about slavery and how the ripples and how it rippled out and terrible things happened. And so that's why I like it. I like the Remembrance of the Daleks. It was about something really, but it wasn't in your face. I don't think it wasn't. Sometimes you get, sometimes they get criticised for being too in your face. I think it was much more subtle. Also, the Daleks, another reason why I love the Daleks is that there was two different factions of Daleks fighting, two different coloured Daleks fighting. And there was under Waterloo Station, which is a big station in London, very important station. There are lots of these arches under the station. And so there was a battle going on in the arch between two Daleks. And the pyrotechnic boys at the BBC, who were always trying to blow me up, they made a big explosion in the battle in one of these tunnels. And of course, it rattled all the cars, the car alarms went off, windows cracked, and it was on the news, the local radio, saying the IRA had blown up the station in Waterloo. Now, the IRA were a kind of a terrorist organization acting in Britain in those days. So suddenly there were police cars, there was ambulances, there was fire engines all rushing down this road. There was kind of a road like this. And I was standing here, and the smoke was coming out from the tunnel here. And the first thing to come down was an ambulance, and then it screeched to a halt. And the ambulance driver's chin fell to his chest, because out of the smoke came 3 Daleks. So I mean, if you listen very carefully, they might have been saying, "Exterminate, boyo, exterminate." You know what I mean? Joseph. Oh, it's Joseph Marcel, the wonderful Joseph Marcel. Yeah. Okay. All right. Another one up here.
Hi. When Ncuti got announced as the next doctor, I think you may have been the first released a video very I'm curious. Curious as to when Ncuti got was announced. Is this something you just individually is like, I gotta welcome this man in? Do other doctors coordinate? I mean,
no. Yes. No. No, I mean, what happened was I just thought, I'll tell you what happened was that Paul McGann sent me a message. I didn't know much about what was happening, and then Paul sent me a message saying, "Oh, you do know that the new doctor is Scottish?" And I went, "All right." So I wrote him back a message, Scotland 4, Liverpool 2. And then I thought, oh, well, I'll welcome a fellow Scot, and that's what I did. I just made this little video, and I think it was partly asked of me. I think yes, STV, Scottish Television, asked me if I could go and be interviewed, but I couldn't. I was too busy. So they said, "Could you send the video?" So I sent the video, which was to welcome Ncuti into this amazing club of Doctor Who's, yeah, and that was how that happened, really. Yeah. Okay, coming through. Boom, 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 boom.
So you've mentioned Patrick Troughton a lot in your interview today. So you clearly started out as a fan of Doctor Who before starting, but how did you come to acting and wanting to be an artist?
How did I become an actor? Yes. Well, there's a funny thing. What happened was I'd always wanted to be an actor, but I'd come from the Highlands, and there weren't many theatres or experience or places to go in those days. And I came to London, and I used to walk past the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. But it rather frightened me because it looked like a bank. It didn't look like a place for kind of what I imagined a drama school would look like. So I never went, and so I worked in the City of London, and eventually I left because the 60s arrived and you could become a hippie and drop out. So I dropped out from the City of London and ended up working in the theatre, the Roundhouse, which is a brand new theatre then, in an ancient building. It was a place where you used to store steam trains, circular, and they turned it into a wonderful theatre. I worked there in the box office. So there was another, the administrator's husband, he was quite a well-known actor, Brian Murphy, of George and Mildred and Man About the House and various things I don't know if you've seen over here, but anyway, he was quite well-known. But when he wasn't working, he'd come and just hang out while I was selling tickets, and he'd collect them, and we used to just loon around, joke around. So we were joking around, and then one day, a guy, Ken Campbell, came in, this amazing kind of Svengali, came in and said to Brian, "Yeah, Brian, some bleepers let me down. I got this mad bleeping show. Do you know any mad bleeping actors?" And he said, "Young actors." And he said, Brian said, "That's the guy in the box office. He's out of his head." So Ken came up to say, "Yeah, do you want to join my show?" And I went, "Yes." And that's how I became an actor. Coming through. Bum, 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 bum.
Hello. My question is, yesterday I had no idea that Sylvester McCoy was not your given name. And so my question is, when you first got a stage name, was it ever confusing going by a different name? And what did your parents think about you going by a different name?
Right, okay, that's quite an interesting question, really, because when I became Sylvester McCoy, and I had to open bank accounts and do serious things in the name of, it was a business name, I suppose, when people called me Sylvester, I used to go, because that wasn't, it seemed to be calling me, I thought of the cat, So I thought I a pretty twat, suffering sabotage, that kind of thing. So it amused me. My parents, I'm afraid, I was an orphan, so they had no skin in the game. There was no way. But my granny, my aunties, my uncles. What I did, my very first television was a documentary, which is out there somewhere, about the Ken Campbell Roadshow. If you watch it, I mean, it's nearly black and white. It's in a polluted part of England. It's in color, but it looks in black and white. That's how it's dreich and drab. And so my family knew that I was going to be on the television in the Highlands of Scotland. So they all dressed up, they dressed up to watch it. And my uncle went to the local newspaper and said that his nephew, Victor Sylvester, was going to be on the television. Now, Victor Sylvester was a well-known band leader. But he got the name wrong, so I didn't even get the name right, so he got that wrong. And then when they saw this show, I mean, they were expecting... I mean, when my family watched television, they didn't really watch the acting. They watched the furniture or the wallpaper. They'd stand there. Oh, that lovely wallpaper. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that dress. That was their kind of interest in visual television in those days. But we were really hairy-arsed, hippies in a wild, wild west doing this show. And one of my aunties went to bed ill. So, they didn't quite like it, really. But that didn't mind me. I did loved it, really. So there we are. Oh, coming through. What? Someone in the front. Oh, you remind me. Yes. Are you twins? Are you related?
When you were called to be in the 1996 movie, what was your reaction not only to returning to the role, but the fact that you were going to die?
Regenerate. Well, I mean, when I took over from Doctor Who number 6, he didn't turn up for regeneration. So, because he'd fallen out with the BBC. So what they did was they put me in his costume. They lost me for 3 days. And then when they found me, they stuck a curly wig on my head. I looked like Harp Marx. So that was my regeneration. I had to be Doctor Who number 6 and Doctor Who number 7. So I was, up until recently, the only actor who's played 2 doctors. Now some other Scottish doctors come along and taken my thing away from me. Not that I'm upset. I hate him. No, I don't. No, I don't. But anyway, yeah. So I knew that I had to do a regeneration. That was it. I was going to do a regeneration no matter what happened, because that was really rather important. So when eventually they came back to me, I was delighted to go and do the regeneration, and so that's why I accepted, and handed it over to that ugly little Liverpudlian, My friend, actually, when Paul and I were friends before, so that was good. It was great that I could go and hand over to someone who I liked and was friendly with. So I was delighted with that. So that's why I did it. Really, I was very pleased to do it, and I went to. It's a satire on America, isn't it? The first time Doctor Who comes to visit America, what happens? He gets shot. When I first came to America, to St. Paul's to do a convention, I was in this big room. It was a circular room with Greek columns. I was on the stage. I was wearing white with a white hat and a stick, and there was a couch, and so I got up, and I was standing there, and someone got up and said, "Oh, Mr. McCoy, now you've become so universally famous. Are you worried about being shot? Shot? Worried about being shot?" And I stood on the stage and thought, "Oh, bleep. They shot John Lennon, didn't they?" So then I hid behind the couch, and then I took the umbrella and the hat, and I put that up, and if no one shot at it, I'd answer the next question. But that was, that was what happened then. Welcome to the Twin Cities. And then my character arrives, and then first thing happens to him, he gets shot.
I just would like to know, other than yourself, which doctor do you think is the best dressed?
Which doctor? We don't have witch doctors. Sorry, that's a terrible gag. Which doctor? Well, I can tell you, the Guardian newspaper, I don't know if you know, it's a very highly respected newspaper, did a thing on the best dressed doctors, the first 10 best dressed doctors. Guess which one came first? Me. I was surprised. And it's the question mark pullover, which I never liked. I always thought it was overstated. It was too screaming out question marks, and also it was very warm. But in the studio, that was one of the reasons why it was deemed as the best dressed doctor. And they actually said that it would not look out of place. This walking down a Gucci catwalk. So that was, something. So that's the answer to your question. I didn't have to think that one up. Hello, sorry, there's a lady, someone in a room somewhere wants a question. Hello, I see you. Stop picking your nose.
Hello, online question. What are your future plans for work in 2024?
My future plans? Well, carry on working, really. I've got lots of conventions to do, a few more in the States and lots in Britain. But there are a few things coming out. This January, I'm in one of the episodes of Father Brown, which I believe is quite popular in America, I'm told. So I'm in that. I did 2 films. One was a short film, and I played a Bami botanist. And the Bami botanist has spent his life trying to communicate with a tomato and ask it, was it a vegetable or a fruit? It's a completely surreal piece of work. And that I did. So that'll be coming out this year. There was another one I did. What was that? There's another one I did, which is I played a kind of retired sleazy lawyer. That was a kind of totally different kind of character. So I enjoyed doing that. And then there's another one coming out in April on Netflix. I can't remember the name, which is because I did it about a year and a half ago, which is a good thing because I'm not supposed to talk about it anyway. So that's a handy thing. So there's a few things coming out. As far as acting is concerned at the moment, there's nothing in the diary, but things happen really quickly in my job. You don't know what you're doing in a year ahead, and then by the end of the year, you've done all these things. So that's how it works out, really. So here we are. Hello.
What was it like working with Rob Zombie on The Munsters?
Oh, right, yeah. Well, that was quite fascinating, really, because I was asked to do it. I didn't have to. They asked me if I'd do it, and I said, yeah. So I phoned up my son, and I said to Sam, who's this Rob Zombie? And he went, oh, Dad, you've got to work with him. He's, cult horror movie director. You've got to do it. It turns out it was The Munsters. And I said, oh, really? And and so he's also a rock, heavy metal musician. So I looked him up and I watched the video of it, and it's really wild. It was great, kind of long hair and all that kind of stuff, and it was really exciting. I thought, oh great, this is going to be wonderful. I'm going to go and meet him. So I fly out to Budapest in Hungary to meet Rob Zombie. And so I'm expecting, this kind of wild man who, bites, eats rats' heads, cocaine or drink, throws televisions out of hotel windows, wrecks the place. It turns out he's a vegan. I was so disappointed. I wanted something wilder and mad, but he ended up as a really sweet, nice vegan. I'm obviously a wonderful actor because, when he's on the stage being Rob Zombie, he really is wild. So, in fact, when I was flying out to do it, he was #1 in the American Billboard, so he's still up there as far as the music's concerned, up at the top. There's a hand up here. Hello,
Hi.
young man. What can I ask you?
So unfortunately, we're at time. I know. It's not me. It's the man in the box. It's all them. It's the man in the box.
Well, thank you. That's it, I'm afraid. I have to. Time Lords are constrained by time.
But can we have a huge, amazing hand for the greatest doctor?
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Enjoy Council Room.